guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of A Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi. This book was sent to me by the author for review. It is the companion book to The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani, and being a companion story, you do not need to read the first book if you do not want to, but I highly recommend the first book. I will leave my review for on the screen. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling, so you know how I feel about those. So this is a YA fantasy story that follows the main character from the first book's sister, Jeffree, and she is more of this like warrior princess. At the beginning of the book, she is going to be executed by an enemy nation because her brother, who is the ruler of their nation, is a conniving tyrant, and he kind of worked his magic and made it so that the enemy nation was going to assassinate her. But instead of assassinating her, the prince of that nation, who is dubbed the Fox Prince, has a plan. He wants to become a competitor in the Tournament of Wishes because he wants a wish for his own reasons. She also wants to wish for her own reasons, and you need to have a partner in this tournament in order to go and participate. It's part of a magical tournament that takes place in the magical realm of this world, so both of them kind of pair up for their different selfish reasons, and everything kind of takes off from there. First off, when we talk about the world building with this story, this book is much more heavily focused on world building than the first book even is. When a lot of people talk about the first book, they said that they wanted even more world building, even more things with the world. This is that. So if you've read the first book and you wanted more world stuff, you're going to get it with this. There are a ton more myths, there are a ton more mythical creatures, there's a ton more legend. Like, this has Indian folklore to the next level, and there's just so much going on with it. So if you wanted more of that magic and that atmosphere, you're definitely going to get it much more in this book. Next, I'm going to talk about the characters. Like I mentioned in my synopsis, Jeffree is much more of this like warrior princess. She is different than Maya, who's the main character in the first book, because Maya has this kind of quiet strength to her, and Jeffree is like a firecracker of a girl. She is just like venom. She sometimes doesn't think before she acts, but at the same time she is always overthinking how she acts because she's come from a world and a political situation where her brother has so much control and he uses people against her. So she wants to think quickly and kind of throw herself into everything, but at the time she can't. And she's angry, and she really identifies with a lot of the more monstrous aspects of the magical world, but she also really hates the magical world because she feels like it took her sister from her, because she doesn't really know what happened to her sister. So she has all these kind of things that are conflicting within her, and she's really seeking freedom. Vikram is the prince in the story, and he is also seeking freedom as well. That is kind of what ties them together. They both feel like they are enslaved within their own worlds and that they are like victims of their circumstances, and he is, like I said, dubbed the Fox Prince because he is so kind of conniving, but not in a manipulative way, the way that her brother is. And he uses his smarts, and he's been through a lot as well. They both kind of grow together because they realize how much the other one has been through, and he is just really witty, and he is always kind of getting them in trouble too. Like, there are two people who are just so full of life and bounce off one another really well. The banter within this is awesome. I love the banter between the two characters. They are just always kind of going at one another, and the respect for one another builds throughout the story, but they definitely start off as like unlikely allies, not even friends, and then that develops over time, and it is just really good. I also really liked a lot of the side characters we get to experience. Like I said, there's more of this like mythology going on in here, so there's these kind of mythological creatures that you get to come in contact with. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these side characters in this gets her own companion story later, because she definitely has an arc that she goes through. I really enjoyed her, and just getting to see a lot more of the kind of gods of the story, and everything really isn't what it seems at face value with this is really cool. Lastly, let me talk about the plot. I do feel like it took a little bit to get into, but I feel like this does have that kind of sense of everything does matter. So once you get to the end, you realize like, oh, some of those slower pieces matter more than I thought they did. Honestly, the magical aspect of what this was in this tournament is kind of what I wanted Caraval to be, and wasn't, but this had that. This had that atmosphere. This had this kind of competition aspect to it. This had other competitors around that you really felt like people were going to try to get in their way potentially, or other people had their own motivations for being there, and if they weren't getting in their way, you realize why, because of the way this tournament is set up. And so it just had more of that game feel to it, which I really enjoyed. Also, the writing in this is kind of that like flowery, Laini Taylor-esque, people call it purple writing, that I really enjoy. I think this works really well for this kind of story because it is this kind of magical mythology-based story, so the kind of crazy flowery writing works really well. But I will say, if you are not into flowery writing, you're not gonna like Roshani's books, because her writing is that beautiful flowery writing, but if that's not your style, you're not going to enjoy these. But I really liked the pace these went at. I really liked the competition, but that the competition wasn't the only thing. There's a whole journey for them to get to the competition, a whole journey within the competition, wrapping things up after the competition, so you really feel like you have their full stories, and you really feel like you get to know them a lot throughout the story, and I really enjoyed that. So overall, I enjoyed A Crown of Wishes. It gave me even more of the world that I really, really wanted, and really more of that magical atmosphere that I so highly enjoyed from the first book. It was just amped up even more in this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of A Crown of Wishes. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!